Why has all of the color gone out of the world? I see memes like this constantly comparing the same house in 1990 to present day. But I've also seen this with cars, where there's a comparison with cars in the past. You had every color of the rainbow, where modern day it's white, black, gray. Or fast food restaurants, old school McDonald's versus the depressing gray modern one.
People talk about the dystopian future like it's some kind of like futuristic state. Do people not realize like we're there? Like this is it. We're in it. And don't get me wrong, it's going to get weirder. This isn't like the final form, but this is dystopia. No question.
So I think we can all agree that we are past the point of no return when it comes to the fact that we are living in a dystopia. Like, we all made a bunch of jokes in 2016 about how we were devolving into a dystopia, and it's here. It's fully been here for a while. And I'm not saying this to be a Debbie Downer, which, believe me, I am, but I'm saying it because I think the sooner we accept the genre that we're in, the sooner we can decide how we want to proceed. So let's
Hi, so a lot of Americans think they're living in a dystopia. US itself is turning into a dystopia, and today we're going to see the many reasons why they think that way. Let's go.
Why has all of the color gone out of the world? I see memes like this constantly comparing the same house in 1990 to present day. But I've also seen this with cars, where there's a comparison with cars in the past. You had every color of the rainbow, where modern day it's white, black, gray. Or fast food restaurants, old school McDonald's versus the depressing gray modern one. Or in film, where you have the trend of taking old colorful animated movies and doing CGI versions that are all brown. I saw this post complaining about the costumes in The Odyssey. It's a historical epic where everybody's dressed in gray and brown. Where once upon a time that genre was exploding with color. I'm posting this around the holidays, where now the dominant color for Christmas lights is just white. Or if you look at somebody's photo album from the 1970s, their trees look like this with the big colorful bulbs. And you really can't find a consensus in terms of why this has happened. Like this interior design trend that people call millennial gray. I've heard theories when people are remodeling houses or flipping them to sell, that those are just the most neutral colors and have the broadest appeal. But why does that have the broadest appeal? And it's the same thing with cars. The fact that cars are less colorful, this is not just anecdotal. Lots of people have charted it out. And if you try to find out why, people say, oh, it's the greed of these car makers and dealers. They know that white will sell, so that's what they put on the lot. And it's like, okay, but why did green stop selling entirely? Why is it that people only want red for sports cars? With fast food restaurants, people have said that it's because the customers got older because fewer people have kids. So McDonald's used to really lean into appealing to kids with the clown mascot. But is that true of Taco Bell? Back in the 90s, was Taco Bell a place where little kids went? Because Taco Bell is now morphing into this, the gray and the wood paneling. I feel like all of these are dancing around a broader consumer preference for less color in everything. And it may relate to the fact that, at least in my eyes, I perceive this as being a wealthier person's house than this. Like somehow I've been trained that if I went into a restaurant that had this color scheme, I would not assume that it is a fancy restaurant. Where the reason they're going to this is that it is perceived as being more upscale, even though they're serving the same food. And this to me looks like a rich person's Christmas tree. It looks more sophisticated. And this does read to me as the film for a more intellectual, sophisticated consumer, where this to me reads as cheap or garish. But I didn't come out of the womb feeling like that. I was trained to think that way. And I honestly don't know why, and I definitely don't know why we think that children need a more colorless version of Moana. If you have a theory, I'd be eager to hear it.
So I've noticed this trend first in video games. Even video games, they look nowadays less colorful. For the case of McDonald's, they make their building office friendly so they can be able to sell it if they don't turn it into a restaurant. Because McDonald's is a huge real estate company. And in the past, McDonald's used to modify their buildings and personalize it a lot. And if they wanted to sell those buildings, it would require more investment. They would have to modify the roof, paint the whole building, and they might sell it at a loss. But nowadays, they want to make it office friendly. So when they have to modify it, they will only modify maybe the inside and that's it. But colors are also known to help against depression. That's why I think that's playing a huge role when it comes to why people are depressed right now. I heard a lot of professionals recommending people to wear colors during winter because it boosts the mood.
People talk about the dystopian future like it's some kind of like futuristic state. Do people not realize like we're there? Like this is it. We're in it. And don't get me wrong, it's going to get weirder. This isn't like the final form, but this is dystopia. No question. You got a girl who got famous because she was outside of a bar drunk one night talking about how she spit on a dude's weenie. And not only is she like one of the most famous people on the planet, now she sells a cryptocurrency, which like, what even is that? Can you describe to me what that is? No, you can't, because it's not real. Money's not even real. Currency's not real. You got politicians who aren't politicians. Actual politicians also aren't politicians. You got a boxer who's like a YouTuber who's fighting the most legendary boxer of all time. You got tech companies being like, hey, it sucks in reality. Guess what? Just put on these glasses and you can escape it. And you can go live in another reality. And you're just like, what is the new reality? They're just like, don't think about that, peasant. Just go in it. And then you're like, okay, but if that's a reality, then what is this? And then they're just like, why are you continuing to think for yourself? Stop. And the people who are in power aren't even like real people anymore. They're just like these shadowy figures, like that guy from The Wizard of Oz that just like, nobody comes to see the wizard. You hear? That's what they are. And then some of them are getting shot in the street, and everyone is celebrating. And I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm just saying the fact that like something like that happens and literally everybody is just celebrating unanimously.
I feel like we're living in a cyberpunk era. You see that companies are putting hits on whistleblowers, and citizens are also putting hits on CEOs. So let's run into the comments. The first one said, I miss life before tech people were the most powerful people on earth. Yeah, it used to be the finance bro, but nowadays the tech, it takes a huge place in our personal life. And at this point, you might even turn paranoid. So for example, I'm going to take the iPhone. In order for Hey Siri to work, it needs to listen to you every single time. And what happens is when you say Hey Siri, it filters all the words you say before and it keeps the Hey Siri in order to turn on. At this point, people aren't even surprised when they talk about a product with their close one. And when they scroll through social medias, they see an ad of the product itself. So it means that we're being spied. In the comments, someone said, phones can read our minds. 1984 is very real and happening around us. They're not reading our minds, but they're tracking your text messages, your emails, your phone calls, everything, which is why they have so much information about which type of ads they're going to share.
So I think we can all agree that we are past the point of no return when it comes to the fact that we are living in a dystopia. Like, we all made a bunch of jokes in 2016 about how we were devolving into a dystopia, and it's here. It's fully been here for a while. And I'm not saying this to be a Debbie Downer, which, believe me, I am, but I'm saying it because I think the sooner we accept the genre that we're in, the sooner we can decide how we want to proceed. So let's think back on the stories that we love that are set in dystopic settings. Lord of the Rings, Handmaid's Tale, Hunger Games, what have you. What is it that makes those stories compelling? What is it that makes those stories something that we willingly consume? Given that this is not a rom-com or a relationship drama, we have to decide who we want to be in this story. Do you want to be the guy that runs off into the woods and dies immediately? Do you want to be the character who goes insane because they just can't handle the reality of what's happening? Or are you going to be part of the resistance, the group that fights against evil, even if they know that they might not win in their lifetime? Let's write this story together.
So in the comments, someone said, not having kids is my biggest contribution. Yeah, no wonder why people don't want to have kids anymore. Because they're pretty pessimistic when it comes to the future. For example, everyone is feeling that the middle class is disappearing and the cost of living is so expensive that you as a single person, you struggle to pay your bills. Imagine adding on the top of that a kid. And everyone knows how expensive kids are. The price of the daycare, the price of the diapers, the healthcare fees. And you see governments giving around $5,000 to motivate people into having children. I'm afraid that, for example, what happened in Japan, their birth rate was going down extremely fast, and they were about to extend in a few years. And their government decided to implement the 4-day work week. in order for people to relax and have enough time to socialize and create families. I think that the 4 days work week is a pretty good idea right now because we're over consuming. We buy so many stuff we don't use. We waste so much food that at this point we're overstressed without being able to consume all the things we produce.
Welcome to America, where we work to live and live to work, where we spend hundreds of thousands on a home that we barely get to step foot in because the hours we work to pay for it keeps us away from it, where we buy a car just to drive it to a job that barely pays enough to keep the gas tank full, where our healthcare system will bankrupt you faster than the illness can kill you. Where getting sick is the business motto and the cure is priced like a luxury. Welcome to America, where the food is fake, the water's tainted, and the air we breathe is up for sale. Where the richest 1% own more than the bottom half combined, and they still tell us to work harder. Where we chase the American dream only to find out it was designed to stay out of reach. And every time we get close to the finish line, they just inch it a little further back. Where school doesn't teach you how to live, just how to obey, comply, and clock in. Where education comes with a lifetime of debt and the diploma is nothing more than a receipt for money that you ain't never gonna see again. Welcome to America, where we pay taxes to keep the lights on in government buildings we ain't never even allowed to enter, where your rights are written in pencil and erased when it's inconvenient, where justice depends on your income and the law bends to the highest bidder. Welcome to America, where they tell you if you don't like it, then leave, without realizing we had ties to this land before there was even an America, where your labor is valued but your life is disposable. Welcome to America, where mental health is a crisis, but therapy is a luxury that most can't even afford, where they sell you fast fashion, fast food, and the fast entertainment to keep you distracted from the slow theft of your soul and your spirit, where the news is scripted, the truth is filtered, and history is rewritten to protect the guilty. Welcome to America, where the people who run this country don't live like the people who keep it running. Welcome to America, where survival is success, where we've been trained to call this living, but in reality, we barely breathing.
So I remember seeing a meme saying that the earth is a resort for like 500 extremely rich people, and the rest of us is just the staff. And I've never heard a meme being this true in my life. Because when you think about it, you've seen the rich people, their lifestyle, going to the moon. Others are going in submarines and not coming back. Us, we just there watching them living our dream life. So in the comments, someone said, don't forget, you pay 30 years on house, get behind on property tax, and they take it. Yep. At this point, we own nothing. You own nothing. Everything is a subscription. Everything is being rent, but you can lose it anytime. Because the fact that you buy your house and you still have to pay your property tax, because when you buy a house, it's supposed to be yours. When you buy the land, it's supposed to be yours. You pay it one time and you move on. But they still normalize having to pay like a subscription fee in order to live in a country where you were born. Someone else said in the comments, we pay to exist. Yes, we do. Like, sometimes I look at the cats that are running around and I do envy them. They don't have a 9 to 5. They don't have bills to pay. And for me, it should have been like the basic having freedom, because we worked to make the society advance, but at this point we're losing our humanity in the process. Unfortunately, we're acting like robots. We wake up, we work, we go back to sleep. Imagine you spend way more time with strangers, and what I mean by that is your colleagues, than your own family. You spend 8 hours with those people, sometimes even more when you have to work overtime. And when you come back home, you're so tired that you don't even have enough energy and time to enjoy your family. And let's say if you had a lot of energy, you drink a lot of coffee, you still have only 3 hours to enjoy that time you spend with your family when it comes to the weekday.
So I work from home and my employer just started time tracking. So it takes screenshots every 10 minutes or so, tracks my mouse activity, keyboard activity, the URLs I visit, and what percentage of time I spend on doing whatever. And, at the end of the day, it doesn't change what I do, so I don't mind it a ton. But I can't help but to think, like, this is pretty dystopian. Like screenshots, I get it. I get it from the business owner's perspective, but just thinking about how the world is going to be more and more digital and there's going to be more businesses that are online like this, I just don't see how the nature of work is going to return to a better format than this. And I just entered the workforce like a year ago from college, and I'm just thinking about my future. Like, I don't think this is for me, to be honest. Work from home is great, don't get me wrong, but I just don't want to feel like I'm not working if I'm not staring at a screen or if I'm not typing and moving my cursor. Like, this just doesn't feel like life to me, you know? I feel like there's it's gotta be more than for real.
So yep, the tech is taking a huge place in our life, and the more space it's going to take, um, the more control they're gonna have when it comes to us. Because I wouldn't be surprised in the next years if they force us to open our webcams during the work hours, even without being in meetings. So let's go into the comments. Someone said, I just find all this stuff hilarious because people waste so much time at the office. Yep. There is the culture of staying at the office. Staying at the office doesn't mean that you are being more productive than the one who is not at the office. The office allows them to keep an eye on you, to make you tired. For example, if you are bored in your house or apartment, you can do so many things. You can launch a business, you can play video games, you can rest. But if you are bored at the office, the only thing you can do is work. That's it. So in the comments, someone else said, sounds like hub stuff, and the creator said bingo. So if you hear about hub stuff being used in that office, run as fast as you can, because they keep an eye on you. There is another comment saying it shows poor management, mean they can't measure results and need to measure activity. Yep. Micromanagement doesn't mean better productivity or more productivity. It means more stress and more burnout. And that will kill the productivity, because when you burn out, you are going to quit, or you're going to have a leave that the doctor allows you.
You know what makes me want to absolutely lose my mind? People paid $75,000 for Met Gala tickets this week, right? Other people paid $300,000 plus for tables to sit at this event, right? And they say all of this money is going towards a nonprofit benefit. And it's literally for freaking costumes. Like, for costumes. Meanwhile, I've had two terminally ill patients this week denied healthcare, insurance is denying their medications, is denying whatever, is denying hospice, like all of these things. How is this in the same world? How does this make sense? We live in such a dystopian thing. And I know that, but then you see stuff like this and it just makes you livid. It's just, what? Ugh.
I think healthcare should be free, and education also. Healthcare and education, they should be free, because if those two things aren't free, why are you even paying tax? And the amount of taxes you're paying is so huge, so you wonder where that money is going.
We are literally living in the most dystopian type of society that you could ever imagine. At this point, I'll be more surprised if we are not in a simulation. I hope that we really are a lot of the times, because it's crazy. The fact that people or government officials can get away with thousands of people, millions of people, without anybody even caring or batting an eye is absolutely insane. I feel like conceptually a lot of us can't even imagine that many people, because we haven't been in any sort of area where we've seen that many people. But when you really think about it, it's thousands and thousands and millions of people. And we're all just chilling here. And capitalism is literally keeping us all in a chokehold that we wake up and we think we have to work every day to pay for things that the earth naturally gave us for free. The fact that half of the world is starving too, why, right? We have billions of dollars, right, of this man-made money. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. And half of us don't care. The other half is so caught up in whatever man-made thing that makes them upset that we can't come together and realize everything is really messed up. If you really think about society as a whole, I mean, yeah, we have these pretty things that give us temporary happiness, and we have different flavors of ice cream to choose from and things like that. But like, it's just crazy. It's just really, really crazy when you think about it.
I do agree. Because how come are we producing this amount of food and still wasting it while there are people starving? And I'm not even talking about people living in other countries, but in the same country, like the US, you see people starving. You see homeless people going into the bins to find food while they're being thrown away, and those foods are still edible.
Some of you did not obsessively read dystopian novels in your like fundamental years of brain growth, and it shows. I know one of my favorites was Uglies, where people they changed their faces like drastically. People who are just outcasts who are like, I don't want to be pretty, I don't want to be changed. Why is that real now? They literally turned it into a movie, and all the people just looked like everyone walking around. All the pretties. They were supposed to look like unattainable, like crazy. Their faces were supposed to look insane. Why are we becoming that? Why is like my day-to-day life more similar to the Hunger Games than a romance novel? You know that quote that's like, those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it? Well, I would venture to say that those who are not reading dystopian novels about what could happen are also doomed to repeat that. It's like the same thing with like people experimenting with like dinosaurs. Like, did you guys not watch Jurassic Park? This is proof that even reading fictional books can be beneficial and prepare you for the future of real things.
I don't know. If you read fictional books, how can it prepare you when you have your hands tied? You know, when you're not able to change the country you live in, when you are not able to run away from the economic model that is dominating the whole world, which is capitalism. No matter where you go, there still will be capitalism. So in the comments, someone said, we're living in a Black Mirror episode, and the creator said, no, for real. I stopped watching Black Mirror because I felt like it was too close to home. And yep, this is why the showrunners of Black Mirror stopped creating Black Mirror's episode, because they said that the state of the world right now is going to be extremely, extremely hard for them to shock people, because people are so numb by everything that is happening that they themselves, they're not even able to imagine something that is more shocking than what is happening right now.
I used to work in a newsroom, and I got to tell you, when I switched to corporate America, I noticed that nobody talks about anything happening on the outside world in corporate America. Very, very rarely, maybe once or twice, but especially never in the last 2 years, have any one of my coworkers brought up anything happening in America. It's like it's forbidden, like it's in like an unspoken rule that you can't talk about these things anymore. I worked in a newsroom where you were like forced to talk about current events because that's literally your job. But then going to a place where it's like frowned upon to discuss anything happening in the outside world, you're only allowed to discuss KPIs and OKRs, is crazy.
So the only reason why the corporates, they don't want us to speak about politics or religion, it's because it doesn't contribute to their productivity. Because to be honest, most of them, they don't care about the relationships we have with the coworkers. It's true that those subjects are touchy, but sometimes you get into a debate about work, and you get sometimes into an extremely heated argument with your colleagues, and the corporation doesn't say anything. Why? Because it's about works. You are contributing for the productivity of the enterprise, even though your relationship will change forever with that person. So yeah, in the comments, someone said Severance. Yep, Severance, if you didn't watch it, it's about a guy who goes to the office, but when he goes to the office, he develops a whole different personality. He forgets everything that happens outside the office. And when he goes outside the office, it's the same thing. He forgets about everything that happens in the office. So it's two different persons sharing the same body. And sometimes that's how I feel when I go to the office. You can't be your real self. You need to adopt a certain language. You need to be careful about what you're saying, about the subject you're choosing, etc. Someone else said in the comments, and that's because that's the quickest way to get fired. And the creator answered, maybe now, but it wasn't always like that. We used to support each other on hard days. Executives and leaders typically chimed in on days of national importance, at least where I've worked. Right now, we are so divided that those CEOs can't even talk about subjects outside of work because they might be afraid it could start a fight or an argument.
People are worried that we're going to become a dystopian society, but we're already in it. We've been in it. We just normalize certain aspects so you don't think it's dystopian. Like, there should be no world where I'm sipping on a coffee walking down the street and I'm walking past someone sleeping on the ground. That's not normal. It's not normal to say, hope I don't die because you can't afford a hospital bill, let alone an ambulance. It's not normal for us to be living our lives like nothing has changed while people are being bombed in mass amounts. It's not normal for our countries, on that same vein, to send their poor to fight for the rich leaders. Life has been dystopian, you're just desensitized to it.
Indeed, we became so numb to the people's struggle that we see wars at TVs, we see homeless sleeping outside, and we just act like nothing is happening, we just don't care. And I wonder if it is the overconsumption of media that made us this numb, or let me know in the comments. So in the comments, someone said the hospital talking me into staying alive despite clearly hard times, then handing me a 25K bills for all their hard work. Not normal. Nothing is normal. This is why some people, you'll see them, they rather die on the street than you calling the ambulance, because they know that the fees are going to be so huge. They rather sacrifice themselves.
So y'all don't think it's dystopian that we have to pay in order to literally live? Like, you don't think it's dystopian that we have to pay for basic necessities, food, water, shelter, transportation, healthcare? These are the basic things that human beings need to live a comfortable, sustainable life. And you mean to tell me we have to pay for that? Like, we have to pay currency. Not only do we have to pay currency, it's not even like, it's to a point to where you can't even afford it. Y'all don't think it's dystopian that literally a couple hundred people, couple hundred families maybe, own literally the majority of the globe wealth? That's not dystopian? We're not already living in a dystopia? Huh? I'm just saying, like, the moment where we gave up our will to live for a piece of paper, that was it. Like, the moment that we tied our value of being a being, we tied our value of humanity to money. That was it. That, like, right there, that was the moment in time where humanity it was from the start. It was from the start. Like, what are we not understanding? We should not have to pay like that. Pay for food, pay for fucking water that comes from the earth. Shelter. I mean,
Everything nowadays is locked behind the paywalls. Sometimes I can understand certain things needs to be bought, but other things like healthcare and education, we're paying taxes. And what are the taxes for if it is not for the own citizens that are paying those taxes?
One of the most dystopian things I have experienced on this app is I will be complaining about something that is unique to the United States, and someone from Europe will be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry that you live in the United States. That must be so awful. Like, I'm so glad I don't live in the United States." And I'm like, that is crazy to me, because as a kid, we were all told that, like, the United States was, like, the best country in the world, that we were better than all the other countries, that, like, our healthcare was better, our government was better, everything was better. And then growing up and realizing that it's not has been so dystopian for me. Like, a lot of my content is centered around my chronic illnesses, and I will be talking about like not having access to free healthcare, and someone from either Europe or Canada is like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. I could never." That's crazy to me. Or worse, when I'm complaining about something and someone will be like, "Well, I don't have that problem," and they have a Canadian flag in their bio. It's like, yeah, of course, you live in Canada.
Think twice before coming to Canada, because Canada, the healthcare is free, but it comes with a huge flaw. We don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses. So when you go to the emergency room, it is normal for you to wait around 6 to 7 hours. And I'm talking about emergency, like you need care ASAP. That's why 2 years ago, we lost around 14,000 people waiting in the emergency room. And that's what was reported. And it was more than that, but you know how they play with numbers. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if I should make another one, a part 2 about this. Let me know what you agree with and what you don't agree. It was really nice talking to you. Take care. See you soon. Ciao.